You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dummler, Broncos Country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
Broncos for dinner? Building breakfast? No, Broncos for... Or building the Broncos.
Building the Broncos for dinner.
There we go. Everybody's favorite, right? We're double dipping today. Scott and myself, welcome in, everybody. It is Tuesday night, 6 o'clock Mountain Time, which means it's time for an episode of Building the Broncos. Obviously, again, our names are not here. I'm not sure what's going on. I have to bother Chad with that. But I am Nick Kendell and joined by my co-host, typically for Broncos for Breakfast, but joining me while Carl is abroad right now, Scott. And you guys can follow Scott and myself on Twitter, myself at Nick Kendell MHH, and Scott at Scout Kennedy. Scott, how you doing?
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Carl's doing much more important stuff, so it is my pleasure and honor to fill in for him while he's making the world a better place, literally. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's do miss Carl, great guy, but he's doing something that's bigger than football right now, which is very select few, maybe a handful of things, but he found one, so he gets a little bit of a break with that. But, man, it's been a long time. Scott, what you been up to? Watching some football, hanging out?
Well, I moved my microphone around. It's now sitting in front of me, so hopefully you can hear me okay. But I've already gone twice to grab it and take a drink out of it.
Oh, man.
It's where my coffee cup is usually sitting. So if I bang this thing into my teeth, we'll have it on camera. It'll be funny.
That'll be great. That'll be I can already see the TikTok now. But, guys, yeah, it's obviously, Building the Broncos here, Tuesday night. You guys can follow Scott and myself, like I said already. But also on Twitter, you can follow us at BTB Football Pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. Make sure you guys go to huddleuppod.com to see our latest gear. We obviously I liked all the caps. I got a Broncos for Breakfast one on the way, so excited for that. Guys on Facebook, make sure you're going to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and also facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And you guys getting your stars in right now. We appreciate the heck out of you. The top, or everybody who donates 500 stars over on Facebook gets a chance to earn a Justin Simmons jersey at the end of the month. And we know YouTube folks felt maybe not left out, but not as seen this last month. So YouTube, don't go away. Super Chat's still the bread and butter. If you can't do that, though, subscribe, like, and share. But for the top 5 Super Chatters this month, they're going to get their name in the drawing for the Justin Simmons jersey as well. And I believe Scott has some information on current, I guess, the polls, right? We're watching the polls. It's college football season. We're all looking to see the rankings.
Yeah, we can take a look real quick. This is the leaderboard right now for stars, and we're at 68%. So I know the other day we were saying we're a shade behind goal, but now we're at 68% with less than, or at least a third more to go of the month. So we're pacing very well.
Listen up, Broncos country. TickPick should be your first choice to buy football tickets because they save fans money by never charging any service fees ever. TickPick is the exclusive ticketing partner for the Huddle Up podcast and the Blue Wire Network.
Denver Broncos football is finally back, and there's no need to exhaust yourself searching all over the internet to find Broncos tickets anymore. Because TickPick, that's TickPick, is the original no-fee ticket site and the only one you'll ever need as your go-to for all NFL tickets. TickPick got rid of all those awful service fees that the other ticket sites charge, which lets them guarantee the best prices on all of their NFL tickets. Don't believe it? If you can find better prices for the same seats on another ticket site, TickPick will give you 110% of the difference in the purchase price.
That's right, guys. When we were searching for tickets for the MHH meet and greet for Week 3 at home, Broncos versus Jets, TickPick had us locked down. So visit tickpick.com/huddle today and use the promo code HUDDLE to save $10 on your first order of Broncos tickets.
We got George Newton saying trade Chubb as soon as he gets healthy. Talk about that'd be selling low. I don't want to do stocks with you, George, but I hear you. I'm frustrated too. Jay Kozad saying, sorry, I can't see Chubb getting a second contract here with all that's going on in injury wise. It's definitely something we'll get into. Indubitably, it's going to be okay. I think I said that right. Chubb will be back in time for stretch run. And if Chubb gets a second contract, it'll be cheap. Now, I don't know if it'll be cheap. You're talking about a 5th overall pick guy with Pro Bowl under his belt as well.
Well, and he's got another year to do it, right? The option that was picked up is for next year.
Yep.
So, he's got another year. This isn't his contract year. Next year is. So, I think the question there is, a little bit like I've heard y'all talk about Ronald Darby. He was injured. You gave him a bunch of guaranteed money. You're going to live with that or not. That's the decision you're going to have to make with his injury history. But, if he's healthy next year, he's not going to be cheap in 2023.
No, absolutely not. Michael coming in, a very generous super star giver. Good morning, Broncos country. Good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, Michael. We also have the Jewel of Fools in here. Good to see you, Jewel. We got Mike Woodard saying Broncos for dinner. Chase with a nice comment, I think. When it comes to the Atlanta Falcons fans who cover the Denver Broncos, Scott is number one. No
I'm
contest.
at the top for sure. It's lonely. It's a lonely group. I think I'm also on the bottom, though, is the problem. I think I'm also in last.
Yeah, you know what? We'll take it. You're number one. Mark Lindmode coming in. Good evening, gentlemen. Great pod this morning. Thank you very much. And also he says I looks more awake than compared to this morning. I had coffee this morning. I felt like I was awake. Sometimes I do a little bit like the face slapping before we get going, just to feel better. But it's okay. And we got Jonathan coming in with our first super chat today, $1.99 over on YouTube. Thank you so much, Jonathan. It means a lot. Hope you're doing well. And he says coaching is the reason for 47 and 55's injuries. Scott, what do you think here? He's saying coaching. I'm guessing he's saying because Chubb shouldn't have been out there and Jewel shouldn't have been out there for special teams.
That's exactly what Jonathan's saying. He's saying you're using when you're starting middle linebacker at maybe one of your thinnest positions on a special teams play like that, and you get him hurt. And then you're letting Chubb talk his way into when he's got gimpy ankles. But, if the doctors cleared him, he says he's good to go.
Yeah.
What do? You hold him out another week? At what point do you say it's okay? I don't have that answer, but I understand where Jonathan is coming from.
Yeah, a lot of starting linebackers play special teams, and I think Darius Leonard has more special team snaps than Chubb does, and he just got that massive contract. So I'm not going to be too upset about that. The Chubb one is upsetting, but it's not so much that he was out there playing with injuries. It's like if they knew they had this bone spur and it was going to be – and he's been having issues since the Rams game, whatever was at the week 3 preseason game. Why don't you just bite the bullet to begin with? And you're already ahead, like 2 or 3 games ahead of the curve. He's out week 1.
Part of it, you're thinking I can play through this. I can, and maybe it'll be okay. And I'll get, I'll get shot up or whatever it takes. I can play through this until you can't. But now, in a 17-week season, when's the bye week?
I want to say it's almost right in the middle. It might be week 9.
So you might be able to, have him miss 5 games, not counting the ones you've already missed. And then, 5 of a 17-game season isn't terrible. If you get him for the last 10 and he's 100%, then you're gonna forget all about this because Broncos are gonna start 3-0. I'm going out on a limb there. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Then having him in the stretch run when the pressure starts coming on, when you're coming in under the radar a little bit against some of the lower teams in the NFL, the pressure is going to build every week as the wins start piling up. The pressure is going to build, and you're going to need a healthy Bradley Chubb. So I get it. I agree with you, but let's on the flip side of this, saying maybe you thought he could play through it.
Yeah. I'm definitely more of a conservative approach with that because you're going to need him more. So if I can get a preseason week and the week before the season to get him out there as most games as possible, I probably would have done that. Easy for me to say where I'm sitting right now with hindsight, knowing what happened. We also got Greg Smith is in here. Good evening, Nick and Scott. Double duty. Aloha. Aloha squared. Good to see you.
Hello and goodbye.
Yeah. We also got Gary Leeds Palmer double dipping today. Lucky us. Lucky us, honestly. Thank you guys for joining us today. Good to see you again, Gary.
Yeah, appreciate the support on that one on Gary and Michael and Travis and Peter always coming in with the stars. Certainly appreciate you.
Absolutely. And Seth coming in with a $10 super today saying, Seth Harmon, thank you so much. Did the Broncos bring someone off the practice squad to fill the 47 spots? I have not seen any moves in I guess ramification is the word for Josie Jewell going on IR. Have you seen anything on the waiver wire?
I've not seen a corresponding roster move for those two because it'll be both of them.
Is Chubb officially on the IR yet? I don't remember.
That's 2 places. That's 2 players that'll end up going on the IR. And I haven't seen it. Doesn't mean it hadn't happened, but I haven't seen it. I'll be honest, I haven't been looking for it just yet. The news just hit me that when Chubb was out, it was just, I don't know how long that's been announced, but I was at baseball practice for the last 2 hours. So it hit me just a few minutes ago. I'm like, good Lord, man. We had a lot of questions coming in for this team. What's it going to take for the Denver Broncos to go from 5-11 to a playoff run? And most of the talk surrounded quarterback play, the stuff that you can try. Hopefully you can control quarterback play, offensive line gelling, Cortland Sutton coming back healthy, all these different things. And the wild card on there is you got to stay healthy. And this is, maybe I'm closer to the Denver Broncos and other teams, but this feels like the Denver Broncos are getting harder than most teams in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's not like the Ravens or the Colts right now, but it's unfortunate. You're seeing the injuries hit them again this hard, this early. Luckily, none of them besides Jewel have been the season-ending sort. But still, these guys, even when they come back from injury, there's going to be a couple weeks probably, or the whole season where they're not 100%. So
there's no shape like football shape, and the only way to get into it is to play. That's why. Sorry to go on a tangent, but the idea of these guys not playing any in the preseason is just strange to me.
Yeah.
There's some teams out there where, a lot of players didn't take a snap in the preseason, and you've got to get game ready. I mean, maybe the thought, hey, it's a 17-game season and 10-6 is good enough.
Yeah.
But, a win in September could be just as important as a win in December. So let's be ready to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. I do have some news from Kliss, I guess, as far as bringing anybody in. The Broncos had some tryouts today for linebacker Shalik Calhoun, who I believe was an edge rusher for Michigan State back in the day, and Pita, man, I don't even know the last name, Tamopinu, who was with Denver during the training camp as well. So there's a couple tryouts. I don't think there's been any corresponding moves, though, correlated with Josie going on IR officially. And it's also not for sure. I don't know if it's the long term. I didn't see the designation. I just saw IR. It's not the short term, but I think there might be hope still that Josie could come back this year. It's a slight hope. I wouldn't bank on it. It's probably the
torn pectorals. Sorry, that's pretty serious.
Yeah. Luckily, it's not a lower body injury where it's like hopefully Josie a year from now will be fine and healed, but it sucks. Ernie's in the house. Go Denver Broncos. Ernie, you don't suck. Good to see you. Travis coming in. Good evening, Nick, Scott. It's too bad about Chubb. I wonder if the coaches and team doctors knew about this. Who is to blame, Chubb or the staff? They thought that he could play through it. Apparently, he re-aggravated it in that game. It's painful, and now because of the re-aggravated injury, they have shifted course and said that now that surgery is the best course of action, is my understanding. So I don't know if there is actually blame to go around. Again, we have plenty of hindsight here. We're like, oh, they should have just done the surgery to begin with. But I think it's Dr. James Andrews that's been even working with him. So
you're not getting any better than James Andrews for sure.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate, there's no way to it's football, right? There's no way to completely prevent injuries, but I think the blame is more so just bad luck. Maybe Chubb shouldn't have played. That's fine. I could buy that. But if you're going to go that far, I'd say, well, maybe Chubb should have had the surgery to begin with.
Maybe if he doesn't play another week, this happens again next week. Now you've lost him for, now you've delayed his comeback another week. It's impossible to tell. I'm certainly not going to blame anybody in this situation without all of the information and knowing how things can also change week to week when you're dealing with an injury like that.
Yeah, nope, absolutely. Got Matt Henry coming in saying Nick and Scott twice a day is a win-win. Well, that's nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Jewel of Fool coming in saying it's not really, talking about earlier comment, it's not really selling low when the alternative is letting him walk. Well, it's going to be pretty hard to trade him until he's healthy, right? That's part of the equation.
Well,
also,
and the other part of that is who would pick up his contract, right? So if you're going to trade him and he's going to be on about 11 or 12 million next year, I think. And
I think it's all guaranteed. It also might already be all guaranteed on the Broncos as well. I'm not sure exactly how that the 5th-year option works as far as cap ramifications. So it might be he's on the Broncos next year no matter what for cap reasons. So I'd have to look into that. But it's tough. He has more value holding on to him another year, seeing if he can get healthy than probably anything you're going to get in return from him.
Right. And Michael coming in again, rat-a-tat-tat. Great to see Broncos country on here. Building the Broncos. Listen to Nick and Scott. Go Broncos. Go Michael. You go. you're going for that number one spot before the night's over. So we certainly appreciate everything that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Leroy Williams coming in too. Good to see you, Leroy. He says, "Mile high salute." Got that for you. Coach Fangio is going to have to make some adjustments on defense, like sending exotic blitz packages like safety and corner blitzes. Besides Von Miller, it seems like nobody is getting closer to the quarterback but Von. That was kind of the case in the Jags game. I would say that was not the case in the Giants game. Draymond Jones was incredible in the Giants game and not as good in the Jags game. And also, you do want to get pass rush, a better pass rush than you've seen overall from this team, but it's not really in Fangio's DNA to blitz. I mean, he will sometimes. He's not going to be completely a non-blitzing schemer, but he's much more about getting 7 guys back there and getting pressure with 4. And even if you're not getting home, you're hoping that the coverages will at least allow you buy an extra couple seconds. It's not great, but
we can get into this in a little bit. But I don't know how many of y'all watched the New York Jets game. Give that kid time to throw the ball.
Yeah,
Zach Wilson has made some bad decisions with the football. All 4 of those interceptions were on him. He threw 4 of them, and they were all pretty bad. One of them was questionable. I'll give him the second one was questionable. The other 3, they were all on him, and most of them were when he had time to throw.
Yeah, and also we see that Ben Roethlisberger has a pectoral injury now as well. So
good luck throwing a ball with a pectoral injury.
Yeah, so it's either Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins there for that game probably coming up, or an injured Ben Roethlisberger. So that's not great. And then you got the Ravens. But, I mean, injuries are happening. That's a little unfortunate, but it's you're going to have to figure it out. And that's why the depth is good. That's why the depth is important. And we got Simon coming in here. Simon Weeby coming in with the Canadian dollars. Thank you so much over in, north of the border there. He says, "Hello, gents. Do you think our run game needs to improve, especially starting week 3 when the schedule gets real? Will Browning get any edge snaps?" So a couple questions in here. You definitely get a couple answers with $20 super. Does the run game need to improve? Yes. The Broncos right now have the EPA per play, which is expected points average added, which is kind of like the war of football. The Broncos are, I think, 7th right now in EPA per play, and Melvin Gordon's 70-yard run is doing a lot of heavy lifting for that. You're not going to get a 70-yard run very often. The Broncos' rushing success rate, though, 6th worst in the league. And what does the success rate mean? It means on first down, you gain 40% of the yards you need for a first down. In second down, you gain 60%. And on third or fourth down, you gain 100%. And the Broncos are bottom 7 in the entire NFL in success rushing rate. So that Melvin Gordon one, that's a big reason why those stats, like, oh, Broncos are the 7th highest rate running team right now. Well, he got 70 yards on one clip. It doesn't not count, but it's just down to down. They've not been very good.
Yeah, in 2 games, when you're talking other teams didn't break 70 yards, period, and you get one play in 2 games. So that, unless the running game improves. So going back to what Simon said, and Simon, again, thank you from both of us. Does the running game need to improve? Yeah, it does. It does. And I think the interior line needs to get stronger there. The edge seems to be doing pretty well. But again, 400 yards of total offense. The teams, God, I keep thinking this is a glass of water in front of me, and I almost knock it over. Exactly. I'm gonna have to. I got a new microphone, and I'm trying to get comfortable with it. So far, not good. So that panic look on my face was me spilling my microphone. The overall offense has been really good. The way the teams have stacked the box against Denver and tried to make Teddy beat them, he has. So Teddy's been throwing a lot of short, quick passes, which is almost an extension of the running game.
Yep.
The traditional running game of sorts has been slow. It's been slowed down, but that's by design. The 2 teams you've played aren't good enough to try and stop the run or the pass in a base defense. So they've had to sell out one or the other. They've sold out trying to stop the run. And for the most part, they have, but Teddy's whooping them. So, the fact that they're taking, and Teddy Bridgewater and the Denver Broncos are taking what has been given to them, and it's been very successful. So, yes, I think the running game will improve based on the play of Teddy Bridgewater in the passing game the previous 2 weeks. You can't put 8 in the box against his team. You can't do it.
Yeah. At least not right now. Hopefully the injury bug doesn't continue to bite the weapons and whatnot. But when you have Sutton playing like he was doing, Tim Patrick out there, the speed threat of KJ Hamler, even though he had a bad game, they're still accounting for him, and Noah Fant, and the running backs getting involved in the pass game. and Teddy making good decisions, delivering a catchable ball to the right guy in time. Even if they are stacking the box, he's making you pay. And we saw that. I mean, the air yards, Teddy's not a bombs away quarterback, but when the opposing defense situationally is saying, hey, we're going to play single high and stack the box, Teddy's going to hit you over the top.
Taking shots.
Yep.
Exactly. He's taking shots. He's going over the top. And even if you don't hit it, you put it in the back of their mind that you can, that you're willing to go deep.
Yep.
And a couple of those, maybe the ball's been underthrown, but I've been watching those plays where they've gone deep, and it's been 55 yards in the air. That's plenty of arm strength to get behind the defense. If anything, maybe Teddy just needs to get rid of it a little sooner. He's got plenty of arm to get the ball downfield.
Yeah, he'll lollipop some in there, which is fine. Will Browning get edge snaps? I think the plan for Browning is off-ball linebacker. You maybe will see some edge snaps there, but it's going to be much more where he's filling in for Josie Jewell kind of situation. And Vic Fangio said he was farther away still. So it's the Strenad show until Browning gets up to speed. I think Browning has the physical tools to be a good edge rusher, but I don't think that is the plan for him. I don't think we're going to see edge snaps, and based on the Broncos working out those edge rushing linebackers as well, that's probably the case. Also, I think I feel better about the depth at edge. I mean, we've already gone a game without Chubb. Malik Reed is he's a fine starter. I don't think he's a plus starter. He's a really good first guy off the bench. That's an ideal situation for Reed, but you can live with Vaughn and him. And then you have Mintz and Cooper, who maybe a year earlier to where they are than you'd want them to be. But with Von Miller playing as good as he has, hopefully Shelby Harris will take a step forward. Draymond Jones, we see more New York Giants, Draymond Jones versus Jacksonville Jaguars. It won't be as big of a deal, but I'm guessing probably maybe a few Browning edge snaps, not a lot.
And they were the back-to-back right here, but this leads in perfectly. The concerns were about the pass rush. Naj, appreciate the super chat coming in. Says, hey, brothers, other than Vaughn, what are your thoughts on the pass rush? Seems lacking to me. Do you think Shelby is playing with the same intensity level he has the past couple of years? Lastly, thoughts on Simmons' play so far? Let's go firstly with that. I watched the front seven a lot more closely than the back seven. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the defensive backfield.
Yeah, I think the defensive backfield has been solid overall. I think that Justin Simmons graded pretty poorly in this Jacksonville game. I thought he'd had a really good game versus the Giants. It's pretty hard to grade safeties if you don't know exactly what's being asked of them, especially in a Vic Fangio defense with how complicated the coverages are. You actually have to be like almost in that coach's room to understand exactly what their assignments will be from a snap-to-snap basis. Simmons, I think, has been fine. He hasn't had a detrimental play. You are hoping that he comes down with some turnovers here soon, but I think he hasn't been bad. I think he was one of the lowest graded players on the defense in that Jags game, which surprised me. As far as the pass rush goes, Shelby Harris, I mean, Shelby's playing with a wrist injury. I think that's right. Maybe he's been out there. But Shelby's been so far fine. He's been doing his job in the run game. But you're hoping to see a little bit more in the pass game.
I've been pretty pleased with Shamar Stevens and the way he's been playing when I've seen him come in too. I don't think that overly pressuring the quarterback has been a big concern so far early, as far as, we're gonna blitz heavy. This is the game plan. I think the game plan is to not make any mistakes and don't get beat. Yeah. And we've got Von Miller over on this side paired with Draymond Jones. Those two alone will get enough pressure with a front four that we can sit back and cover and seven. And it's worked. You had 200 yards of total offense last week against you, the Denver Broncos. So you can't have everything. So you kind of look at the whole. I did it again.
Everyone drink.
you look at the whole. You look at the whole, and say it was very successful. So I think if Denver wants to sell out and get to the quarterback, they can. Anytime I saw Draymond Jones and Von Miller on the same side going after quarterback, that quarterback was getting pressured without a doubt.
Yeah. Yep. They you do want to see better, and that was the plan with Chubb, and it's a big reason that edge rusher might be on the menu for the Broncos in the upcoming draft. Even if they bring back Von, honestly, it might be time to start talking about the re-signed Von Miller train with how he's playing. But we'll see. They need to get a little bit. I do think they need to be a little bit better up front with the front four, getting after the quarterback. Given the quarterbacks you've seen, it hasn't been that big of an issue yet, but it might be once you start to see a little bit more seasoned quarterback plays back there.
It's going to be different when you see Lamar Jackson too, because if you get a rush up field and go by him, he's going to go for 25 before anybody gets near him. So the contain, for lack of a better word, has been very successful so far. Tommy, I think I saw this the other night, and when I'm in the background running the, what do you guys call it? Running the ones and twos in the background. It's hard for me to keep my mouth shut. So I saw this the other day, and I wanted to answer too. It said, Nick and Scott, with Teddy playing as well as he has been, is he still on a short leash where a bad game will be called a warm-up block, or has he completed the mutiny and is captain now? Well, he's voted captain by his teammates, so he's still already a captain. But no, there's not a short leash. I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt to have a bad game. So he may have already had that release. You don't want guys looking over their shoulders. Being afraid to fail. That's a sure way to get them to fail. You want them playing free, loose, and confident. Teddy's there right now. And if you yank him at the first chance of adversity, then all of a sudden you're afraid to make mistakes. And then you're just going to get a boatload of mistakes from both quarterbacks because Drew Lock's going to go in trying to do too much. And he's going to be looking over his shoulder the first time he makes a mistake. So I think you're going to get to see a little bit more of Teddy. He's going to have his ups and downs. Right now he's riding really high.
Yeah.
And when he has a dip in form, as we say in international football, I think he'll get a chance to play through it.
Yeah, he's played well enough that he's the guy. They're always going to give him, I think, a pretty decent leash early on once they made their bed and chose to go with him. I think the only way you see Drew is if you see multiple bad games from Teddy Bridgewater down the line right now, or injury, or the Broncos are out of the playoffs close to the end of the season, and then they're like, okay, well, we have 2 years of control with this young quarterback. We probably should see what we have here just because we're building up for 2022 as much as anything. So hopefully we don't get to that scenario, but that's where I think you see with Drew Lock right now compared to Teddy Bridgewater. Shane Daniels coming in $5 over on YouTube. Thank you so much, Shane. He said, hey, it's Broncos for breakfast for dinner. Gotta love that. I love breakfast for dinner. Just landed in Denver for the Jets game. Go Broncos. Well, have a great time, Shane. I know that a bunch of Mile High Huddle is going to be there. So make sure you have fun. Make sure you celebrate responsibly. Don't drink and drive, that kind of stuff. But it should be a blast. And man, I think that stadium is going to be rocking. It's going to be a great time.
Is the Waffle House nationwide, or is it just here where they're on every corner? So, 24 hours of the Waffle House, breakfast for dinner is any time where I'm from. Yeah. So, I appreciate having Broncos for breakfast for dinner. So, and have a great time. All of y'all coming for the meet and greet. Now that I'm getting to know so many of these people, I can recognize so many names. I feel like I'm part of this community. I'm going to get out there next time we do this. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of y'all, and I hope you have a really good time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's I'm really jealous you guys are going. That'll be a great time. Hope I see Peter's in here today. It's Broncos for breakfast in Cambodia. Good to see you, Peter. Seth coming back in $5 over on YouTube. What do you think about the way the Ravens contain Mahomes with the spy-like player that would blitz when Mahomes escaped the pocket? I think that's a great strategy. I think that's something that you want to see him do. I like that a lot with it's almost not like a contain player, but it's like a secondary rush where you have like an edge rusher loop. Like you have, if you're doing 4 down linemen, 3 slant one way, then you have the looper come around the backside. And it's like, you see the offensive line full up that guy, the quarterback's like, oh, I got room this way. You have that looping blitzer come and get them. I think I saw that it was in that Auburn Penn State game a couple of times against Sean Clifford. Some good manufactured pressure there, especially the quarterback who's looking to escape the pocket. But as far as like a true spy with a linebacker, that kind of concerns me when you got Travis Kelce on the other side. So you're going to have to figure out some stuff with your pass rush, I think, in order to
I think it might work a little better with someone like Mahomes than Lamar Jackson, because there probably isn't anybody on defense that's going to catch Lamar Jackson, and now you've just left a guy out of coverage. You need a net. You need a net for Lamar Jackson in order to keep containment on that. The spy, it's situational. So it could play in certain situations, not always. Sometimes if you notice that your assignment is a middle linebacker or whoever's playing that nickel linebacker spot, it might not be a linebacker. It could be someone like Patrick Surtain. If his running back, that might be your coverage coming out is with the running. If the back stays in for max protect, then you're spying him, because you can keep your eye on both of those at the same time. You can keep your eye on the running back who's going to leak out, or if the pressure and it flushes the quarterback. So certainly a possibility. If you're going to do that, the person better be able to catch a running back and a quarterback. So I like the idea of a defensive back playing that role.
And one thing that is nice, don't want to overlook the Jets too much, especially the Broncos' struggles on the offensive line so far. Yeah, there's
I've already looked past them.
but
No,
the Jets do have a
actually,
good
I
defensive
watched
line.
them play. Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
I watched them play against New England, and there's some good things to be had with the New York Jets. They've got some pieces. They're not there, but they've got some pieces.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Jonathan Franklin-Meyer, their edge rusher, who's probably got some of the heaviest hands in the game right now. Pretty remarkable. And Quinnen Williams is a heck of a player, too. So they're going to cause the Broncos some issues. I'm curious to see if the Broncos offensive line can take some steps forward and be a little bit more efficient on the ground game. I did see also for all the Pat Shurmur, haters out there. I don't even want to throw out the word haters, but big critics. Pat Shurmur this week through 2 weeks, highest rate of play action pass calls in the NFL. And all anybody could talk about last season was how Pat Shurmur was so stupid for not calling play action and helping his team. Well, here we are 2 weeks in. It's early, but Broncos are number 1 in the NFL in play action per play.
Well, and like we said, if you're selling out to stop the run, what's going to work? Play action.
Yep.
So now if I'm not going to bite on that because I'm worried about getting beat by play action, what's going to work? I'm going to have more room in the running game.
Yeah.
And the New York Jets gave the New England Patriots acres of space behind their front four. You're not going to see 8 in the box. If they play the same way against Bridgewater as they did a rookie quarterback, the running game is going to work because they had their linebackers on 1st and 10, 7 yards off the ball. I look at different spots. I'm like, that's not normal, is it? Because I'm so used to everything seems so crowded right now between watching the Broncos and the Falcons and their 2 tight end set, and everybody's right on top of the center. It just looked strange to me. I'm like, good Lord, there's a lot of space out there. So I think we'll see. I think the Broncos should have their best running game of the season this weekend against the Jets.
Yeah. No, I think they better. Quinnen Williams is a really good player. I think sounds like Glasgow is expected to play as well, which, great for him with the irregular heart. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but that would be great. And also great, Butch coming in with the stars here. I know Scott is working the Facebook group in the background as well, but Peter, thank you for calling out the stars there. And Peter also with the stars, he says, nice stars from me. So Peter, you're great. Love you. Good to see you. Is there any other stars we need to call out?
Travis
right now?
is in here. He says the offensive line needs to get better. Bowles and Moosey have been the only 2 playing decent.
Man, Moody was good in the game. He had some plays where you really saw that lack of length. And if he gets overextended with that lack of length that he has, it's not great. A few plays where a guy's just literally beat him across his face. And that's not ideal, especially for the run game. Reisner's been solid in pass protection. I've been hard on him. I think his pass protection has been fine. His run blocking has not been great. And Cushenberry's been not the worst center in football this year like he was last year. So I'll give him that. And Massey's been okay. He's not a killer for your unit, but all of them together, especially with unfortunately, the sinkhole that has been left guard and center together in the run game has been an issue. And the tight ends, we've had a few good blocks by Noah Fant, but he's been a little bit more missed than hit this season. Got to work better.
I think the offensive line has been adequate. I haven't seen anybody really flash that really drew my attention. And I did have that watching the Jets today. I have kind of put the Jets in the draft out of my mind a little bit, but Elijah Vera Tucker, their 1st-round draft pick, is fantastic. Yeah. I think he's wearing 75 or 65. But as I was like, wow, who is that? Wow, who is that? Wow, who is that? So I look him up. I'm like, I recognize that name. Oh, yeah, 1st-round draft pick. So we will get on somebody for taking a 1st-round draft pick, especially 16th. I think he was right there. He's in the teens as a guard, but he looks every single bit of that guy that you can plug in there for the next 15 years. He was flawless. Blocking on the inside. So, again, I mentioned they had some pieces. That was as good as offensive lineman play that we will probably have seen so far in the first 3 games is out of a rookie for the New York Jets.
Yeah, he is really talented. I still, even if he's great, I kind of have some issues trading up as far as they did to go get a guard in the 1st round when you're as far off as the Jets are. I get it. You want to invest in that rookie quarterback, and probably the best way to do that is to protect him. But I'm glad that also the Jets don't have Mekhi Becton to lean on as well, because Becton and
if you're going to overspend, at least have it be good. What's worse than that is overspending and the guy's a bust. This guy looks really, really good. I'm like, okay. If this is what you thought you needed, then I can get on board with that, because he's mean, the man was flawless. It's like I started watching him on every play that they were running, and then be like, okay, there's a flag down, it's a penalty. I'm like, well, it wasn't on Vera Tucker because he did nothing wrong, and he's getting to the second level. He's pulling, he's pass protecting, run blocking. Just we talk about offensive line play and what we're looking for. That's it. That's it. He's really good.
He does look really, really good. Definitely, he caught my eye. I will say, though, that the Jets' offensive line got far less interesting to me once Mekhi Becton went down, just because Mekhi Becton is an absolute freak. He's so fun. Dr. Steve Brule, MD, coming in here. Check it out. Don't know if this has been addressed yet. Missed a few episodes, but has Fuller lost a step? Seems very up and down secondary as a whole. Fuller maybe has lost a slight step, but like, was Fuller ever actually that like crazy fast type of cornerback? I don't remember that when I was watching him at Virginia Tech. I remember him having length and him being in control and him having ball skills and him being a good tackler. He was a good athlete, no doubt, but he wasn't ever, Jair Alexander out there as far as like twitchiness goes.
He's 29 years old now.
He's
maybe it should be about the prime unless he's suffered some injuries. I'm looking at combine measurements right now. 6 foot 190 when he was coming out, 4'49", 419 shuttle, 6'9" 3-cone. So plus for sure, good, but not crazy fast. We talked about him and appreciate the contribution.
Yeah, thanks.
Doc. We talked about him this morning. I put him as a guy I thought who was disappointing, but also then bounced back and had a decent game.
Yeah.
I've already forgot who did the Broncos play last week?
The Jaguars.
The Jaguars picked on him early. He was victimized early, but then he bounced back, and half of those yards were on the first drive. Of their total yards were in the first drive. So he did okay. It takes some time to adapt to a new team and come in like that in a new scheme and a new city and a new culture. All of those type of things. So it's a long season. Saw some improvement from first quarter to fourth quarter within the game. So I think we can expect to see – we haven't seen the best of him yet. I think he will continue to improve.
And that's very true for just how new the secondary is in general and how much unspoken chemistry and communication is important for this type of zone coverage going on. I need to get Coach Alexander, Coach Cody Alexander on here at some point to talk match quarter stuff, because he's breaking down a lot of what the Broncos do, and some of the stuff he says, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. The scheme stuff is so over my head when it's coming to like that level of stuff. But they're doing some complicated stuff on the back end. It's one of the more mentally demanding schemes of any defensive backfield out there, and they need chemistry. They have to be able to read the same thing at the same time, and you might not have that this year.
Some of that I think is just a lot of hot air too, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just, keep it simple, stupid. I mean, it's a bigger, faster, stronger game.
Yeah.
You try and impress me with how smart you are, and you end up usually looking stupid in this game. You do, and you see it with general managers. It's like, I'm not going to take the obvious pick. I'm going to pick this guy because I'm so much smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. This game isn't that complicated. So keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Like
and the best out of your players.
Sound like a Wade Phillips truther there for the defense. Have your guys just beat them up scheme-wise or man-on-man matchups. But Vic is a little bit complicated with his scheme. I sent you that piece early in the offseason talking about the match.
It's too complicated for me, man. I didn't read it.
Well, fair enough. It is complicated stuff from Vic, but it is the defense du jour right now in the NFL. So we'll see how it continues right now, especially without the pass rush. He's going to have to be a little bit more creative now that he doesn't have potentially 2 or 3 aces up front on the defensive line. However, Von Miller looking as good as he does right now, that helps you a heck of a lot. So I do want to get to this. Brett, I'm still here. Are you still here?
Yeah, you're breaking up on me just a little bit. Have to know is that who is that? Is that Nick that's breaking up a little bit? Have to ask the chat just a little bit. But Chase has a question. Appreciate you coming in, Chase. Which team has surprised you the most so far in a good or a bad way? What's interesting, I'll let you go ahead on this, and then I'll answer. So, who's been one of your surprises so far, Nick? I'm not sure I've got Nick with us. Can y'all hear me? Or is it him? Okay, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and answer then. So we appreciate you, Chase, coming in. Which team has surprised you the most? I tell you what, a couple of things. It's been week to week. You're surprised if Baltimore gets beaten week 1 and they come back and have a good win in week 2. Cleveland, the same way. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers also. I think they're 2-0, sitting at the top of the NFC South, tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. New Orleans, I was surprised they won the first one, and then not so surprised they get blown out in the second one. That just should be more of what they're going to be. Dallas Cowboys 1-1. And the Bills 1-1. That one's a little surprise to me too. But I think if I had to say the top one, I think Panthers, Carolina Panthers. It doesn't matter who they played. If the Panthers are 2-0 is a surprise to me. I think that's good for them. So, well, they haven't played anybody. I said I wouldn't say it in this show this morning. I will say it again today. Until you beat those teams that aren't anybody, you are one of those teams. So
Yep.
that's good for Carolina getting off that 2-0 start.
Hopefully I'm back. But the teams that have surprised me so far, unfortunately, you said a good one there with the Carolina Panthers. That was one I was thinking of. The other one is unfortunately the Raiders. Now they have had a lot of turnover luck so far. Like it's pretty much a 50-50 proposition when the ball goes on the ground, and the Raiders have recovered every single one. Whether they've dropped it or the other team's dropped it, that should be normalizing here as we continue on. Another team that has surprised me probably in the wrong way has been the Minnesota Vikings. Now that Cardinals team might be much better than I thought they'd be this year. Kyler Murray's legitimately in the MVP conversation. But being 0-2 is not a great thing for that Vikings team, especially with considering that a lot of people thought the Vikings were probably one of the more talented teams in the NFC this year. So to be 0-2 this early, dropping a game against the Bengals too, not great. Yeah.
So appreciate the super. What's strange to me is how much it can fluctuate this early week to week.
Yeah.
Where I think everybody was ready to write off the Ravens after week 1. They're overrated. They're not here. And all of a sudden, then they go out and beat the Chiefs. Yeah. So very, very interesting. Good question though. Want to talk a little bit. We got about 20 minutes or so left. You want to talk a little bit about the Jets?
Yeah, let's talk about the Jets. They're the Jets. They're going to lose. All right. Let's, good job guys. We'll
Done.
Get out of here.
Nice podcast. Thanks for being here. Be sure to, tip your servers.
No, yeah, the Jets it's a team that's always was going to be in flux this season. Robert Saleh's bringing over a completely different defense than they ran before. So it was always going to take time to fit in the type of players that would run that scheme for them. Much more cover 2 kind of looks. But the Zach Wilson did not look good. I always thought that he was quarterback 2C. Jets taking him at 2, that's fine. That was not my number 2 quarterback. And I actually liked Trey Lance right there with him as well. But to see Zach Wilson be his consensus number 2, I always thought Zach Wilson's got a little bit of arrogance to his play sometimes.
And Nick, you're breaking up again on us. We've had this conversation before, so I know where he's going with this. It's an interesting freeze frame we got on you, though. We might have to screen capture that one. And it's the, I don't think either one of us, when all of a sudden it came out that the Jets were just pretty much locked on Zach Wilson as being the number 2 guy, I think both of us thought he might be the 4 guy coming out. So having them stick with him, I'm a little surprised at how loosey-goosey he was with the ball, though, in the last game. He threw 4 interceptions. First interception, I said it was a delayed blitz by the middle linebacker. He threw into traffic. Second interception, rolling right, slightly overthrown, went through the hands, but it was too high. So a little bit of fault both ways to Corey Davis. Third interception was underthrown on an out route. So he overthrows a couple guys. Now he takes too much off of it. And the fourth interception looked like a punt. You ever see some of those throws where it's almost like, okay, I thought you were going deep and you cut out, so now I threw this long ball and a guy's back there fair catching it to intercept it? That's what the fourth interception looked like. And it was pretty ugly, and he wasn't under duress. That's the thing that got me. He was very rare. The first one, he had some pressure up the middle, and he threw into a bunch of traffic. But other than that, he wasn't under a ton of pressure in that game, and he was still making bad decisions. So how can the Jets get better? if he's going to be a good quarterback, you can't expect him to make the same type of mistakes like that. But I don't think he's going to make that quantum leap from week 2 to week 3.
No.
So,
yeah, no, we know that Bill Belichick is a rookie quarterback killer. So that's something that is, not going to, Zach Wilson's not a bust because of this, but going from the Bill Belichick, which is a very good defense there in New England, to Vic Fangio with a home opener for the Broncos, it's probably going to be tough for Zach Wilson. Now he is kind of he's streaky, and I would say he's much more of a shooter than Trevor Lawrence is, where, he can get hot and then be really dicing the football down the field, making those like backyard plays. And if he does that, that could hurt you a few times in this game. But you also think that eventually he's going to go cold. He's going to make some silly mistakes with the football, and you got to capitalize on that. And I think, everybody preseason, especially, they were crowning Mac Jones. Mac Jones was like, didn't hit any windows. Kyle Orton would have blushed at how conservative he was throwing the football in that game. But that's probably what you're going to need from Teddy in this game. If you just, they're going to blink first. No doubt about it with Zach Wilson out there throwing the ball around. He will be better than what we saw this week, but it's not going to be a game where I expect it to be that close. And I think the spread is 11.5. Not great.
Well, and Travis coming back in with the star saying after seeing Fields play on Sunday, I wonder if Bronco fans will stop we should have drafted Fields. That's going to be more about Surtain. That's going to be as much about Surtain as it is Fields. And this is a point of contention that Nick and I have had the whole time, is if Patrick Surtain becomes the guy that you think he can, then you're not necessarily so worried about what happens with Justin Fields, even if he ends up becoming, a really, really good quarterback. But again, they're rookies. These are rookie quarterbacks. So I'm not going to judge Zach Wilson on what he does in week 2 for the rest of his career. I might say, let him sit back and try and throw the ball in traffic again in week 3 from his second to third start. But we'll give him a little bit of time before we start worrying about if these guys are going to be busts or not, for goodness sakes. But Patrick Surtain was definitely a more ready-to-play type of player. And if we think this roster was ready to make a playoff run with improved quarterback play, because a rookie quarterback wasn't going to take this team to the playoffs. It wasn't. So you go and you get a veteran and you draft a guy that can help you right away. That makes sense to me. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields also had that. I thought he looked pretty good. And there's Allen Robinson dropped that one where he was pretty open in the end zone. And that would have been like a 40-yard touchdown. It was a honey pot throw. I mean, just 40 yards, beautiful. Couldn't have walked it down the field better than he threw it. But we have a lot of season to go and a lot of career to go to judge how that's all going to turn out.
I'm gonna test your memory on this one. Who are the two guys? If they didn't trade down, they didn't take a quarterback. Who are the two guys I said the Falcons should take at number 4?
Patrick Surtain and Penny Sewell.
I didn't go corner on that. I didn't go corner. That was a little high. I won't say. I said I thought Penny Sewell was legit and was a guy at a left tackle, and I also thought Micah Parsons was a top 5 type of talent. They just didn't necessarily. And all of a sudden, I see Penny Sewell is trending on my timeline. I guess he had just a monster game. He moved over to left tackle after an injury, and they're talking about him Wally Pipping the starter. Say, no, move that guy over to right tackle because this guy hasn't given up a sack since 2018, and he's still 20 years old.
Yeah.
Taking a look back at some of these draft picks, which Nick and I really like to do, and actually we can do that. This is building the Broncos.
Yeah.
We can talk a little draft. I think the one thing that we said over and over again is drafting in the top 10 in this draft, this last draft is you either going to get your quarterback of the future, and there's hope with that, or you're going to get a really exciting prospect.
Yeah.
And the Broncos did. They got Patrick Surtain.
Yep, and he looked really good in this game against the Jags as well, and he's only going to get better. There are a few plays there where, it's like, you wish he was a little bit looser in the hips or had a little bit better click and close, but we're not talking about a guy being drafted like Jalen Ramsey profile, right? Like if he was that, he probably would have gone top 5 given his pedigree and everything. He went 9. He's still a really good player, and he's also just going to get better and better because what Surtain makes him really special. Obviously, he's got the length. He's a great athlete, but he's so smart as well. He's so young, and he's just going to blossom. I think he's not just relying on athleticism.
Any of the guys in the top 10 are usually top 3 picks. I mean, that's how deep this draft was. This was a really, really good draft. This was the kind of draft that if you're like my first draft that I really watched was 1989. I was 16 years old. Don't say anything, Nick. And, the first 5 guys in that draft were Troy Aikman, Tony Mandarich, Barry Sanders was 3, Derek Thomas was 4, and Deion Sanders was 5. 4 of those guys are 4 of the all-time greats. Fast forward to the fall of 1989, and you start seeing some of these guys on the field. You're like, wow, this draft stuff's really cool. Yeah, not every draft is like that.
No.
That's how I feel this 2021 draft is going to be. We're going to look back on this and say, you remember that 2021 draft? Yeah, I do. It was a really good one.
I feel that way about the 2011 draft with Von Miller, Patrick Peterson, Julio Jones, J.J. Watt.
That was 3 years after the famous wide receiver class in high school. So most of those guys became who we thought they could be, which was amazing because Julio Jones and A.J. Green AJ was from South Carolina, Julio Jones was from Alabama. And the debate on who was the better receiver started between those two when they were in sophomores in high school. And I'm not sure it's over yet.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'd say it's Julio, but they've both been pretty darn good players for their career. So some more about the Jets. I thought their offensive line, like you mentioned it, this did stick out to me as well. Their offensive line was better than I thought they would play, especially with Mekhi Becton going down, who is arguably one of the best young tackles in football. It's either him or Tristan Wirfs for my money. But I thought that Connor McGovern, former Denver Bronco, played pretty darn well for them. Maybe a little bit of a mistake in hindsight. The Broncos letting him walk. Obviously, you never know. They developed him over time, and he got paid a good contract. So, are you going to pay a center big money? I don't know. But he looks really good over there in the Jets. Elijah Vera Tucker, like you mentioned, looks really good. I don't really respect their run game. I think they're all much better in passive, like pass protection versus kind of establishing their will against defensive fronts. So Tevin Coleman, didn't really stand out to me in any of the games. Michael Carter, I think, is going to be a good back, but I don't think he is incredible. So they don't fully scare me. And also I don't respect but their wide receivers also. Yeah, I think was it Braxton Berrios is one they have who is fine, but not great. Keenan Cole doesn't do much for me. I think they're playing Jeff Smith was another name that stuck out to me.
Yeah, Elijah Moore might be their top guy. But Braxton Berrios was a good special teams guy, slot guy. I actually thought they ran the ball really well, especially against a team that doesn't do as good. So I looked at the numbers. I'm like, you've got a gunslinging quarterback, but not someone who totally scares you. So you can sell out against a run a little bit more than you might think. And they ran for 152 yards. Yeah. So their offensive line isn't bad. It's pretty good across the board, and I think Vera Tucker is going to be a Pro Bowler for a long time. Again, if you're going to overpay, at least make sure you hit on the guy you overpaid for. I said that about Julio Jones. 5 draft picks to get Julio Jones. Well, at least you hit. He's one of the best of all time. So they got the guy. They may have overpaid, but he's going to be a linchpin of that offensive line for a long time.
Yeah, no, and I'm just trying to pull up the offensive statistics here for the Jets so far. Looking at their EPA per play. Of course, I'm getting the spinning wheel while it's happening. But what happened to Denzel Mims? Also, didn't they draft him? A lot of pomp and circumstance with him. He's probably your type of receiver. He's 6'4", he's big, he's great down the field. At least he was at Baylor. What's been going on with Denzel Mims? Were you a big fan of his at all?
Couldn't tell you. Yeah, I don't know.
Not great.
I don't know on that one. You stumped me.
All right. Well, I do have some stats here actually for the Jets that I would like to share. So let's pull that up here real quick. Okay. So, let me see. Is it spinning wheel for you guys now? Of course it is. Okay. So the Jets here, you're seeing the passing and rushing efficiency so far in 2021. Here are the Broncos way up here in the top right. One of the most efficient offenses so far. Now, this is not weighted based on the teams they've gone against, so that does matter somewhat here for the Broncos. But they've been really good.
Bottom left is bad.
Bottom left is bad. Cover your eyes, Scott. There's the Falcons. But then you have the Jets, who have the third worst rush EPA per play in football so far this season, only trailed by the Falcons and the Miami Dolphins. So they're about league average as far as dropback EPA per play, but not great as far as the rush game explosiveness, even with the numbers they put up. So something to look out for there. Also, the Jets defense is not very great either, but they are better. They're closer to league average. They're a little bit better though in defending the pass than going against the run. So
Well,
maybe this will be a good game for
the thing to remember is it doesn't matter what you do if your quarterback's throwing the ball away the way that Zach Wilson did, you're not going to win football games. So, if you're, it's like, how do the Jets get better? Real easy. Zach Wilson's got to do better job of protecting the ball. He's got a great arm. I mean, just a great arm. Get it away from a lot of different get the ball away from a lot of different angles. Good athleticism, but it's going to be a quick lesson. You throw 4 interceptions, you realize, man, I can't do this at this level. I can't make those type of throws at this level. I've got to be a little bit more careful with it.
I think he did also have the highest miles per hour of any throw recorded this last week. It probably broke some defenders' hands, but hey, he threw it really fast, so God bless him for that.
Brett Favre used to do that. He used to split guys' fingers. They had to tape them up. He used to split their fingers as hard as he threw the ball. So, yeah, he's got a fantastic arm. And actually, like I said, those last 2 interceptions, he floated them. It was almost like, I overthrew, now I overcompensated. He'll find that happy medium. It's just not going to be week 2 to week 3. It's still early in his career for sure.
No, you're absolutely right. So about 5 minutes left. Don't think we're missing any super chats or superstars. If we are, I'm sure we'll get back to them. But do want to just close out with Bradley Chubb talking here. Obviously, it's a big bummer for the Broncos. How much do you think is this going to impact not only this Broncos defense this season, but also what does it mean for this defense and this team going forward? Because they have some tough decisions coming up with Von Miller being a free agent at the end of the year. Obviously, they still have another year, but a lot of people, the plan, obviously, if it's working perfectly, is you just transition the big contract from Von Miller to Bradley Chubb, but he's missed probably more games than he's played so far. It's definitely close. And he was not always the most impactful coming off that injury as well. It took him a little bit of time. And also he had injuries in high school also. So he's still young. He still obviously has the pedigree, but there might be a conversation to be had right now about Bradley Chubb's future on this team.
I don't think there's any doubt. Missed a lot of the previous seasons and going to miss a big chunk of this one. He's going to have 1 year. They call it a contract year for a reason. Now, let's assume the best. Let's assume he comes back and he plays really well next year. He's healthy. He's productive. Now what?
Tag him.
Now what?
I tag him.
That might not be a bad idea. Prove it again. Prove it to me again. I forget about that. That's an option. It's completely unfair.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great idea. Done. Franchise tag him. Okay. Yep. I like it.
That's
you answered the question for me. Thank you.
And do you do anything, does Bradley Chubb's injury history and injury right now, obviously we hopefully will get to see him this year to get more data and a better understanding of where he's going. But what about Von Miller's contract with him being a free agent at the end of the year? How much is that impacting you with what you do to Chubb? Do you come to Chubb first, maybe at the end of the season with a lowball offer saying like, hey, this is on the table for you, take it or leave it. Otherwise we're going to go to Von.
Well, I think you end up going to Von regardless if he stays healthy and keeps playing at this level with, what he's done for this franchise and what he has meant to the franchise and what he means to the rest of the team, the leadership, legendary status, all that stuff while he's still playing well. Von gets paid. So let's move that over. Now, do we find money for Bradley Chubb? Again, a lot of that's going to depend on next year. This year's almost a lost year. I mean, he can come back and in the last 7-8 games,
8 weeks.
Pull off 8 sacks and all of a sudden you're really excited, but all that goes out the window if he starts missing games again next year. So he's got to stay healthy or else he's no good to you. So, why would I start eating up in all this cap room and all these other type of things, or worse, dead cap room? If you want to try and move him and he's unmovable because of a bigger contract and he can't stay on the field, that just really hurts your team. There's, phrase in scouting, and most of y'all have heard this before that have watched me, is, it's not the guys you miss that kill you. It's like, oh, I should have had this guy, I should have taken this guy. It's the guys you get and that can't play that kill you. Yeah. And injuries are part of that. And if you're putting a lot of resources into a guy who can't stay on the field, that's going to kill you. You're much better off with a guy like Malik Reed for a quarter of the money, and you beef up, you take some of that money and build pieces around him in order to make up for any of his said deficiencies.
Yep.
So the injuries scare the hell out of me, Nick, plain and simple.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's been unfortunately pretty consistent for him. Maybe it's this bone spur, they say 6 to 8 weeks. Maybe he comes back and plays amazing down the stretch, and that gives him more time to heal other issues, his other ankle as well, that I think he had bone spurs removed from as well this offseason. But it's something you're going to have to watch for, and it really, unfortunately, does put Bradley Chubb's future for this team in question. But the Broncos do have that 5th-year option in their back pocket. They already exercised that, and to my understanding, it's 100% guaranteed. So Chubb is back here next year, regardless. And also they have Malik Reed next year as well, who will be an exclusive rights free agent after the season. So he's not going anywhere. Question is Vaughn, but with the way Vaughn's playing, you approach him. And then you got next year to see, okay, Chubb, we want to keep you. We'll figure, if you're good, we're going to figure out a way to keep you. A young star pass rusher who's been pretty good. Obviously, you want to try to protect yourself with the guaranteed money. But so they'll give him an offer that is competitive. And then they also have the franchise tag in their back pocket after that if he's that level of talented.
A huge weapon for him. But where's Cortland Sutton on this also? As far as his contract status. And this could be a whole other show. Next time we do Building the Broncos, we might be doing this next week. We can, depending on how the news cycle goes, we can start talking a little contracts and building the team out for next year. I think that'd be very interesting.
Yep. You got that coming up. You have a Teddy Bridgewater discussion that may be bubbling as well. We'll see about that. I need to see, 8 to 10 games before I'm even ready to have that conversation. I need to have that much data to have an understanding of what we're talking about here. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining in tonight. It's been an hour, so it's time for us to get out of here. This is Building the Broncos, of course. We'll be here again next Tuesday, same time, same place. We'll see you guys then. You guys can follow Scott and myself on Twitter, myself at Nick Kendell MHH, and Scott at Scout Kennedy. You can also follow us at BTB Football Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, please, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle or facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Go join the groups, go join the conversations. At me there on Facebook if you want to continue the conversation. If I didn't ask something on there that you guys have questions about, I love talking ball. Give me a chance to talk ball. I'll look at my phone, we're watching something with the wife, whatever. Oh, I'm on Facebook answering Broncos stuff. Like, you're obsessed. I am obsessed. That's why I'm here with you guys right now. Also, make sure you guys are joining us on YouTube right now. Subscribe, like, and share if you're not in the position to, or if you are in the position to join us and to be a superstar, super chat, super sticker, everything like that. If you can't do that, super cheap, super easy. It's free.
All this super talk. Real quick also, Nick just flashed that. Nick and I will be, if you haven't gotten enough of us, can't believe that you wouldn't have, but if you haven't, we're going to be talking some Falcons Giants in the morning, along with some of the draft picks and that type of thing. So at 10 a.m. Eastern and 8 a.m. Pacific, we're going to be talking Falcons Giants. And, I think that'll be interesting to Broncos fans, just from what we learned watching what the Broncos did against the Giants and what the Broncos have subsequently done, and how we'll find out. I think they're better than they've gotten credit for their 0-2 start. I think we'll get a chance to see that. But if you want to come watch us tomorrow, I put the link to subscribe to my channel in the chat. And if you're on a desktop, it'll auto-subscribe. You just hit yes if you click on it. But we appreciate you coming and the support. It's been a big help to my channel, which will help both of us moving forward. So thank you much.
Yeah, guys, thank you guys so much. Thank you to everybody who joined us today in the community, in the comment section, super chats, superstars. You guys are great. We will see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early. But until then, I'll leave you guys with a Go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.